Soul Alchemy is a transmission of channeled healing technologies which restructure your creative source grid. It's a channeled energetic field where transformative operations and procedures are enacted for you while you comfortably relax. Through my perception and vocalization of the inner energetic grid, we are opened in ways which allow these technologies to come into our physical reality and enact change on our behalf. Be sure to be in a place where you can lay back and lay down and relax deeply to receive the session. If you would like to know more about ways you can receive Pure Soul Alchemy healings, go to www.puresoulalchemy.com. So it's a great idea to go back and listen again repeatedly to deepen the effects of the session and take the healings further. Now take some deep breaths and bring into your awareness and into your heart one area in your life having to do with addiction. It can be to a drug, alcohol, food, a person, negative thinking, behaviors, anything. You may write that in chat right now, or you may just hold it in your heartfelt awareness while you listen in. It will get addressed. Plus, you will receive healing on whatever everyone else who is listening in is working on too. I will establish links with our higher selves and our guides and helpers. I will listen to all of us and then report my impressions of what I hear to the best of my ability. Through this reporting, your system and I interpret the information and align our conscious volition to proceed with the recommendations of our guides. Our unified front empowers, strengthens, and amplifies the energetic operations as they are taking place. My energetic system orients itself, with the support of my guides, to serve as a proxy for the operations on your behalf so that you may receive the realignment in more comfort and ease. If you don't understand some or any of the words I am speaking, or even find yourself falling asleep, don't worry. It is most important and of most benefit that you relax as deeply as possible to receive the energy transmission of the operations, rather than trying to stay alert and focused on the wordings or trying to ascribe any real-time meanings to them. So we'll read some of our intentions now. Had one person wrote in wanting healing on obsessive skin picking, scab picking. Another one wrote in wanting assistance on sugar, carb addictions, and also addiction to negative thinking. Another one wrote in wanting assistance with addiction to breads, incessant eating, and what she said was, I feel a disconnect within myself. Another person wrote in, I beat myself up for it, which adds insult to injury. Addiction to a person's controlling behavior. Another person wants help with negative thought patterns, vengeful thought patterns, and addiction to hopelessness. Addiction to worrying too much and hurting myself in the process. Not thinking I'm good enough, and then making myself that, and making myself that to myself and others, and then engaging in compensatory behaviors as a result. And lastly, addiction to high-intensity emotions. These are some very good ones. Great. So putting all of these into the session, along with everything that everyone who is listening and everyone who will be listening, what they're holding in their hearts, we're putting all of that into the session here and now. So I'm going to start by calling in all of our ascended masters. Calling in all of our archangels. We're establishing a heart link with the soul star above our heads. Establishing a heart link with our incarnational star in our abdominal region. We're establishing a heart link with the Earth star below our feet, flowing the microcosmic orbit through and around all of these centers, including the heart center. We're establishing a heart link with our divine Mother, Father, God essence, with our great I Am presence, Creator, Source, the elementals, the nature and fairy and Devic spirits, the animal, plant, mineral kingdoms, Mother Earth, and all of our higher levels of consciousness and higher councils all the way to Divine Source. So first off, we're going to begin by clearing for all of us an astrological sign. And that one is Virgo. So we're going to clear our Virgo influence. And what we're doing is we're bringing in the positive qualities, positive influences of Virgo. And we're also remediating any challenging or negative influences of the sign of Virgo. So as we are clearing that, I'm going to read a little bit about Virgo. And these are general characteristics, both positive and the challenges. Analytical, careful, clean, conservative, critical, cynical, deep, dependable, diligent, discriminating, finicky, fussy, hypercritical, indecisive, intelligent, logical, methodical, meticulous, modest, pedantic, perceptive, perfectionist, practical, precise, reliable, self-conscious, self-critical, sensitive, sharp, shy, structure, subtle, understanding, wealthy, witty, wise, warrior. So again, we're clearing on the negative influences, manifestations, and we're also bringing forth and exalting the positive and healing qualities of Virgo for all of us. One thing I know about Virgo is that the energy of Virgo, positive quality is that there is an ability to remain very neutral and with a healthy distance in order to solve a problem and find solutions. All right, so one thing that's coming up is locked paranoia. Okay, and I'm not sure if this is for one. Okay, there are several. This is a past parental, and this was in early life, schizophrenia of sorts, and that's what my brain is calling it. It may have been some other type of imbalance. So we are clearing for that. Early childhood, early life, being at the receptive end of some parental schizophrenia. Okay, and then also along with that, there were some sharp tactics used in the parenting, which we were, again, on the receptive end as children in our early childhood, so we are clearing for that. Great. We're also clearing for some sharp tongue responses that were meted out in our direction. Again, this is from early childhood, which, it happens. Parents are people too, and they lose their cool. Great. So in a non-judgmental energy of compassion for all parties involved, especially for ourselves, we are clearing, releasing any toxicity held from that point in our lives, and extending the healing onto our parents. All right, so what is coming up? I'm being drawn to look back over our healing intentions. And there's one that's really sticking out for all of us. And I'm going to do some direct clearing on this one for that person, but also for all of us. And I'm going to read it again to the best of my ability. Not thinking I'm good enough and making myself that to myself and others. Great. So we are clearing on this, again, for that person, but this is also a really good one for the rest of us. Great, so we are bringing in the energy of respect for self, for that person, and for the rest of us. And we are still very heavily clearing on being at the receptive end of some sharp-tongued, sharp answers, sharp responses in early childhood from our parents or parental figures. And just want to give you some information. The reason for my heavy breathing is that I'm moving the energy for all of us. So I'm doing all right. Just want to let you know. Great. Someone else has mentioned pressure in the head and the face is coming up for them during the session. So we are putting that online for healing, clearing, and remediation. All right, so we're going to do some work on our emotional bodies. Not that all addiction stems from there. However, that is what's really being highlighted for us here today. So we're going to do some big clearing on our emotional bodies, individually and collectively. Great. So we're going to also, while that is going on, we're going to also clear on our Jupiter influence. And what we're actually wanting to do is we want to clear any blockages that we may have in receiving the beneficial influence of Jupiter. And we're also at the same time bringing in more Jupiterian energy to help us. Let me read a little bit about Jupiter. Jupiter is the expansive principle, good fortune, philosophy, travel, spirituality, material abundance versus waste and extravagance, understanding and higher education versus the wanderer and the dilettante, integration into society, optimism. It rules the thighs, livers, hips, pituitary gland, and cell nutrition. Great, so we've got many processes going. And I'm just going to sit with them here for a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to do some work on the, I don't know what, I know there's a proper term for this cycle. I'll just call the addiction cycle. And what I'm seeing here is that there is I feel bad, so I'm going to do X, Y, Z in order to comfort myself. And then there's the guilt and self-persecution, condemnation that happens, that we do to ourselves for having exhibited the behavior or indulged in the action. And then it goes in the cycle, I feel bad, so I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So that cycle, we're just clearing directly on that cycle for all of us. Great, so we're focusing on that entire cycle, that entire loop for all of us, and also at the same time, I'm going to focus in on that guilt, self-persecution, self-condemnation, and it's also self-abuse that we inflict on ourselves. Great, so we've got to focus on there, the self-judgment, the self-persecution, and then the self-infliction of pain, punishment, either through our thinking or our actions, condemnations. So we're doing a direct clearing there. Okay, and there's somehow, some way, an unhealthy introversion of this. I don't quite follow what is meant by that, but we're going to clear on that anyway because it's being provided by our higher guidance. Great. So while we've got several processes going, the cycle itself, the specific portion of the cycle, which is the self-punishment piece, we're going to also work on the physiological implications of addiction, of feeding the addiction, withdrawal from the addiction. And so we're working on the physiology, the physical body, and we're going to work on it from the psychic level, the emotional level, and the home field. The home field is that space from which we create ourselves in reality anew in each moment. So it's almost like we can say our place where we create ourselves, our workshop, laboratory. So clearing the physiological aspect. Great. Let's also clear for any hard wiring which may have occurred as a result of those in our proximity growing up. Could have been parents, siblings, role models I'm hearing, and they were not positive role models in this instance. Great. Clearing for any addictions which got laid in as a result of contagion. Through those who we were around at any point in our lives. And also clearing those people as well. Great. So what I also want to clear on, and this is not for all of us, this is for some of us, is relationship based on addictions, like having either the same addiction as a bond or compatible addictions as a bond. So let's clear on that for, again, some of us. One partner may have an addiction and then the other will have an equal and opposite addiction, which keeps the cycle in place, or it fortifies and strengthens that addiction cycle for both. We're still clearing on relationships based on addiction, clearing the physiological aspect in terms of the addiction cycle. Clearing the spiritual body, which would be the causal field, the emotional body, and the home field, where we create ourselves and our realities anew in each moment. Great, so we're going to also do some clearing, remediation of some subconscious, below conscious awareness structuring, and these have to do with addiction. Great, so those are moving very nicely. One thing I want to say about subconscious or unconscious structures is that they're below our awareness, so how can we even contact them to work on them? So just wanted to put that in there. Still doing big clearing, detoxification, releasing on the self-persecution, self-punishment, self-abuse aspect of that addiction cycle. Does no good to beat ourselves up, serves no purpose, and it only worsens things. We are releasing on that. So one thing I'd like to say is that even if we never let go of this one particular addiction that we're working on, if we can lift our self-persecution, self-condemnation, and just feel good about ourselves, its hold on us will loosen. Still really heavily clearing on this. Great. So we're also clearing on some hostility and end game resolution, perspective, and outlook on life. So let's clear that out so that we are at peace being in the here and now. Great. So I am putting into the intention that we continue to heal and clear, that these processes continue to work on us for the next 2 to 3 hours, and work done.